today. It's great to be with you to talk about LittWorld this morning. This is going to be kind of more like a conversation. Here with Jose Carlos Gutierrez Martinez, our host chair in Mexico City, based in Mexico City. He is hosting the conference with his team in Mexico. Jose Carlos, do you want to give a word of greeting in Spanish or English, whichever you like?
Hey, hello everybody. Great to be here with you. Hola a todos. Bienvenidos los que nos acompañan, amigos y amigas de habla hispana.
Yeah. We're going to try to do the meeting bilingually. We may not have everything translated into both languages, but wherever we can, we'll try to present the material in Spanish and English both. I was thinking before the meeting, it's almost exactly 4 months from today, the start of LittWorld. On the 2nd of November, probably some of us will be arriving, but the conference will start on November 3rd. So, it sounds like it's far off, but it's really not. 4 months, a lot of preparations continue to take place here at MAI and also in Mexico. And the reason we organized this meeting today is that I have a sense that there are probably some of you who are attending or some who will listen later to the recording who are still trying to decide whether to attend. You're busy people, to take a week away, to travel across the world. That's a big decision. There are implications both of your time and your finances. And so we want to just talk a little bit about some of the questions that you may have. I was thinking of some of the questions we've been getting in our daily emails from many of you. And then also just a brief reminder of what are some of the advantages or benefits of attending LittWorld, and just how are things taking shape for the conference as we sit here today. So first of all, I just want to say we're really excited about the preparations. We continue to lock in different speakers and workshop leaders. If you go on the website, you can see bios of many of those speakers, as well as working on the topics for the plenaries and for the how-to workshops. And some of you continue to register. Each day as I come into the office and log in, it's just interesting and encouraging to see who is registering. LittWorld, we really want it to be a truly international conference, and so we are seeing registrations coming in from the various parts of the world. Actually, just yesterday, we learned that it looks very likely that we'll have 2 publishers from China at LittWorld. So, yeah, God is doing some good things as far as those who are now registering. And then we have our host team. Aside from all the program-related things, we have, an outstanding host team who are looking after the many logistics. Let's say, Carlos, what are the few of the things you're working on right now with the host team? Just, the nitty-gritty of preparations.
Yes, well, we are working on having the transportation service from Mexico City International Airport to the hotel in Puebla and back. Also, all the details of our outing, which is going to be midweek to a place that it's called Cholula, a historical archaeological place. And some of the goodies like the tote bag you will get from the conference, also the video requirements, so we can have the event recorded and then you can have memories of it, and well, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into LittWorld. When we decide where to hold a LittWorld conference, one of the key questions is, is there a group of people locally who can really pitch in? They're all busy people, have their own jobs. Do we have some friends who can pitch in and help organize it? It involves a lot of time. So I'm super grateful to Jose Carlos and the team there for all they continue to do. I think it's going to be a fun LittWorld. We're going to have Latin hospitality, some great food, and just all the kinds of things that will happen in Mexico. So I want to, by the way, please type in any questions you have in the chat. You type those in there in Spanish or English, we'll respond accordingly. Again, this is more like a conversation today. But I wanted to address a few of the questions that we're hearing probably most these days. And I should mention too that some of these same questions that I'm going to refer to now are answered in the FAQ page on the website. And it's very possible you haven't looked at the FAQ website or the FAQ page on the MEI website, but really encourage you to go there because some of the same stuff you'll find there, and it's a good reference, and we continue to update it. So one of the questions that we get is it dangerous? Don't want to start with a negative question. I mean, that is one that a lot of people ask us. It always seems a little ironic to me to hear that question with me living in the Chicago area. Is it dangerous to go to Mexico? You know, we live in a dangerous world in a lot of ways, but you know, it's a good question. Is it dangerous for me to go to Mexico? I will just say that we'll be in Puebla, which is a city about 2 hours southeast of Mexico City, a large metropolitan area. The city's tourist areas and hotel neighborhood where we're going to be meeting are definitely considered safe. The conference hotel provides extra security for large conferences like ours. When Jose Carlos and I were there recently, they were mentioning, for instance, that some of the professional football or soccer teams stay there, entertainers. So, you know, if those types of celebrities are staying in that hotel, obviously they feel that it's secure. And so we definitely believe that you'll be in good hands. I don't think you'll need to have any worries about that in Puebla. Of course, you just follow the same guidelines as you would in any major city. You know, you're not wandering around on the streets at 2 o'clock in the morning, things like that, you know, just using common sense. But I feel that you'll be very comfortable. Once you're there, you'll be thinking, wow, I heard all these reports about all the dangers in Mexico, and this is great. That's our prayer and that's our expectation about security issues. I should also mention that's taking that concern in mind is one of the reasons why we're arranging airport transportation directly from the airport in Mexico City to the hotel. So you don't have to worry about, you know, finding your way there and possibly getting lost or whatever the case might be. So, you know, it's an extra expense for us running the conference, but we feel that it's worth it. We want you to feel comfortable traveling from the Mexico City airport to Puebla. So we'll just need you to give us your flight details so that we can schedule you on one of the buses. And should be very straightforward, both going from the airport to the hotel and then back again from the hotel to Mexico City. Should be, we pray it'll be seamless. I mean, there may be some waits for you in the airport until your bus is ready to leave because we're trying to group people. But if that happens to you, you know, we just ask for your patience. Maybe like in any trip, any travel, there's always a few waits here and there, and we trust those won't be long. Anything you want to say about that, Jose Carlos, either the security or the transportation from the airport?
Yeah, as well as John said, basic security measures are encouraged to be taken, same as when you're traveling to any other country. When I traveled to Kenya, I remember that was my first LittWorld, and I saw on MICE and MAI's website all the guidelines and everything, and I followed them through, and everything went well. And regarding transportation, you will have people from our staff meeting you with your name. They will direct you to the buses where they're going to be waiting, and then we will take you directly to the hotel. And then after the conference, depending on the time and day you're living, you're going to be taken back to Mexico City's International Airport.
I see there was a question about what will the transfer to Puebla be like, and if you attend a few days before if you come a few days before the conference. So we will be making arrangements for airport transportation on the Saturday before the start of LittWorld for those who would arrive a day early, with the international flight connections. Some of you will need to probably arrive on the Saturday to get there in time for the conference. And then, of course, on Sunday, November 3rd. But if you're arriving before then, like on the Friday or the Thursday, we really can't make those kinds of arrangements. If you come early, like extra days early, you need to use public transportation or make whatever arrangements work best for you. I will say there's excellent public transportation between the airport and Puebla. I mean, you don't even need to leave the airport terminal to get to the buses that go to the city of Puebla. So if you would find yourself in that circumstance where, wow, I can't take advantage of the MAI LittWorld transportation, it's not super difficult to get there on your own. We're just offering the airport transportation as a way to make things more, less stressful, more straightforward for you. So yeah, that's a good question. We are getting that question from some of you about arriving or staying later. Same thing. We will have buses going back to the airport on the Friday, November 8th. But if you like to stay over for an extra day or two, which I think it would be a fantastic idea, because Puebla is an amazing city. It's one of the most picturesque cities in Latin America that I've been in. I think you would enjoy it, but you would be on your own getting back to the airport. It'd just be a matter of finding your way to the bus terminal, which you just take an Uber or a taxi and then take the bus to the airport. So yeah, so there's that about the transportation. Another question that's come up has to do with cost. I got an email just yesterday from someone saying, I'd really like to go to LittWorld, but I'm having difficulty financially, paying the registration fee. Would I be saving money? Could I stay elsewhere, like at a different hotel, maybe like a cheaper hotel, or stay with a family or find some other arrangement? Could I do that and still attend LittWorld? So, the first answer that I would always give is we would really encourage you to stay at the conference hotel to take full advantage of the community. If you're staying off site, you're going to be thinking about, well, how am I going to get back and forth to the hotel in the morning and in the evening? Will I have to leave before the evening session is over so I can get back? I won't be able to stay after the evening session to just chat with people because I'll have to rush and get away. And then what am I going to do about my meals if I'm staying off site? So it's more complicated. And to be real honest with you, at the end of the day, you're not going to save much money even if you do that. Because you'll have extra transportation, your meals. I mean, it would be a challenge. I know there are cases where that is maybe your only real option. We do have a registration cost for non-residential. It's less, but again, you'd still have some additional costs anyway. So I would just say from past experience being at LittWorld, if it's any way possible for you to work it out to stay in the hotel, go for it. I mean, if you're going to go to all the trouble to take a week to go to LittWorld, you want to get the full experience. So I would really encourage you to try to make that happen. And, it's kind of like a family environment at LittWorld. I think you'll feel really comfortable with the other participants and just the opportunity to engage with them from breakfast through late in the evening. It's well worth it. Anything on
Yes,
that, Carlos?
yes, definitely. I was gonna add that LittWorld as a publishing training conference has many important components, so to speak, the trainings and workshops, the keynotes, but also connecting with people during the meals and the 7 a.m. devotional we are having daily. It's a great space to grow spiritually and connect with others. We pray together at the end of the devotional. So that is also part of the of LittWorld as a whole. So if you stay somewhere else, it might be hard for you to get on time for the devotional, then as John said, leave early. And we're having, by God's grace, a great deal we got. I mean, and great rate from the hotel because of the amount of participants we're staying at the hotel. We're expecting around 200. So that makes staying there an attractive venue and affordable comparing to other places in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we've all been to retreats, you know, like at camps and things where the cost naturally is quite a bit lower. But with LittWorld, we always face the challenge. We need a place, a location that has an auditorium big enough for 200 plus people, that has enough smaller breakout rooms so that we can have 6 to 7 workshops running simultaneously, a place where everybody can eat together. So there aren't very many places like that around the world when you're looking. It's always a challenge for us to find a good venue that ticks all those boxes. And I just feel that El Presidente Intercontinental in Puebla ticks all those boxes. I mean, I think you'll be amazed. I mean, it's a beautiful facility, and you'll probably be thinking, wow, MAI is really loaded. They must have a lot of money to come to a place like this. But that's really not the case. We're just doing whatever we can to make it work. And I think it will financially for all of us. It's always a step of faith, not just for the participants, but for us as a ministry to launch out and start paying advance deposits to a hotel, not knowing how many people are going to come. But God has always provided, and He's always provided us wonderful places for LittWorld, and we believe that this is going to be an outstanding venue. We've sampled some of the food already. I can guarantee you'll be happy with that. The breaks, just a great facility at the hotel that we'll be at. Yeah, I want to just go down through some of the other questions that you may have. By the way, please be typing in any questions you have in the chat box. When you begin to, some of you have already registered for the conference. Some of you are still thinking about it, but if you're still thinking about it and will register, I just want you to be aware that you'll have the opportunity in the registration form to check if you'd like to have a one-on-one consultation with a professional in your area of interest. Could be editorial, could be publishing leadership, graphic design, whatever your interest is, writing, fiction, nonfiction. So I would really encourage you to check that box. I've noticed we've received a few registrations where people have not checked the box. And I think it's missing out on a quote unquote free opportunity to have a 30-minute personal consultation with one of the top experts in Christian publishing around the world. And it's driven entirely by your questions. So you would go meet with this person, not expecting that person just to teach you. This is all driven by your questions. So you would come with a specific question or two, and this person very graciously will listen carefully, and that person will, from years of experience, will speak to that interest or issue that you have. We have found that some of the most lasting outcomes of LittWorld have come through those one-on-one consultations. Then the added plus is that mentor that you meet with is going to be around all week. You might want to meet up again just to have a cup of coffee or share a meal. So I think one of the unique factors, pluses of LittWorld is the vast majority, 95% or more of the workshop leaders and speakers will be there for the whole week. And they'll be there with you. You can, what an opportunity to just have a cup of coffee or chat with one of these folks who are eager to learn from you. They want to learn from you as well. And they want to be available just to, to encourage. We're mutual encouragers at LittWorld. it's not a vertical conference where we have the experts sitting at one table and the average participants at another table. I remember at one LittWorld, somebody said, "Oh, John, I'm so honored that you sat with me." And I thought, well, I mean, we're just all sitting with each other here. There aren't any, elite classes. We're all equals in this publishing ministry that God has called us to, and it's just wonderful to encourage one another. So there is that. And then just real quickly, so that you please, if you don't want to, that's fine, but I would really encourage you to consider signing up for a one-on-one consultation. They'll be offered at different slots in the afternoons of LittWorld, but then also you'll have the opportunity to save table space in the book display room. Probably won't be a big space. You might be sharing a table with one or two others, a long table, but you can bring some copies of your publications and put them out there. And then during break times and during free times, that room is booming. I mean, a lot of conversations going on in the book display room. You can see what people are doing all over the world, what they're publishing. You can share your own. You can sell your publications if that's your desire in that room. But that book display room is immediately adjacent to the auditorium. And then right outside the auditorium and right outside the book display room is the coffee break area. So you can imagine, that hub, that's a real hub. You'll hear the hum of conversation there because we have the book display room, coffee break, and auditorium all right there together. So we're kind of converging in that area quite often during the day at LittWorld. The space will be somewhat limited in that book display room. It's big, but I really encourage you to put a word in now if you'd like to have some free space. It's possible. I don't suppose many of you will want to do this, but just in case, it's possible to rent or to get an entire table for your organization. I think it's like $400, but you can also just take advantage of the free space and a shared table. Anything am I missing anything, Jose Carlos, on that? I'm just thinking.
Well, no, you covered pretty much, John. I have a question. Well, we have here a question from Cynthia Peralta from Argentina. She's asking, what will the transfer to Puebla be like if you attend a few days before the conference, especially if you travel with children? So as Jan mentioned, if you arrive earlier, I cannot provide the transportation, but we can guide you. If you're going to stay in Mexico City, for example, we can guide you where you can take the bus to Puebla, and then how can you get from the bus station in Puebla to the hotel. So it's pretty easy. John and I had made that the travel by bus from Mexico City, both from the airport and from the bus station in the south part of the city. And it's real comfortable and easy to do it.
Yeah, thank you. One question related to language. LittWorld is traditionally an English language conference, by and large, because it's international. We have people coming from all parts of the world, and we're really not set up to provide interpretation in a lot of different languages. But this LittWorld, we will definitely have interpretation of all the large group presentations from English into Spanish, and we'll have at least one plenary site delivered in Spanish with translation into English. And then in the workshops, there'll be numerous workshops held during the conference. In some cases, workshops will be delivered in Spanish. In other cases, workshops will be bilingual, delivered in both languages. So for Spanish speakers, free Spanish speakers who may not be real comfortable in English, there definitely will be options for you to engage in Spanish at the conference. And I would just encourage all of us, say that you're an English speaker, you have a little bit of Spanish, maybe you studied in 8th grade or something. you have a little bit, just try what you have. Don't be embarrassed. I mean, and likewise, you all who speak Spanish and maybe don't have a lot of English, don't be embarrassed. Just launch out and use the language that you have. Um, we will have a lot of people at the conference who are bilingual. And so if you need help in a conversation, there'll be plenty of people around. I don't know if we've confirmed this yet, but probably one idea we had was on the name tags to indicate whether you are bilingual in Spanish and English, so that it's immediately obvious that you could be a potential interpreter for a conversation at some point. The reason we moved LittWorld to Mexico this time, the first time in a Spanish-speaking country, is because we want to draw in Latin America participants. We have not had as many from Latin America previous LittWorlds, primarily because of the language issue. So we would be erring greatly if we didn't make Spanish easily available and used at LittWorld by having the conference in Mexico. So we'll do all that we can to make this a bilingual conference, at the same time recognizing that probably more attendees will be English speakers than Spanish speakers. My prayer request has been that we'd have at least 60 from Latin America at LittWorld, or more. Pray with us about that, because the whole reason we, as I said, the whole reason we moved the conference to Mexico was to serve and encourage our brothers and sisters in Christian writing and publishing in Latin America. So that is our heart for this conference. And help, for those of you who are living in Latin America, help us raise the word, raise awareness of the conference. I saw a question about scholarships. It relates to what we discussed about cost. Some of you attending this meeting may have applied for a scholarship and you're waiting to hear. So the question was, when will we hear? So I will just say it's a work in progress. We received a lot of applications from all over the world. And so we're working away little by little at responding to those. We're trying to stretch the scholarship funds that are available as far as we can. So in a lot of cases, our scholarship help will be partial, like offering, we can pay half your conference if you are an approved scholarship candidate, or something like that, where it's not everything. We do want everybody to pay something. It's an expression of commitment, but we'll try to help make it happen for you if finances are your main issue. We're giving priority to people who have never been to a LittWorld conference in terms of scholarship candidates. We're also really hoping to draw in younger participants. By younger, I mean 30s, well, 20s, potentially 20s, 30s, 40s. People with less gray hair than I have, we're giving priority to. So again, I appreciate your prayers as we make those kinds of decisions, because so many incredible people have applied, and we want to help as many as we can. And we continue to try to raise funding for scholarships too. Yeah. Here's something I was thinking about this morning. We've received some questions from you that we've already talked about, like security, transportation, cost, language. But I know there are questions out there that are unspoken. And I'm thinking about, in my own case, when I've considered the possibility of attending the conference, there are questions that are always in the back of your mind. One is, can I really afford it to get away? I'm so busy. I'm really busy right now, and I can relate to probably what a lot of you are feeling. Sometimes it feels like you don't even have a free moment to think creatively, or to read, or to have your quiet time. You're trying to do this heavy work, writing and publishing, you're trying to persevere and you're just so busy and you think, wow, I just can't afford to get away for a week time-wise. And my work will pile up while I'm gone. All of you know what that's like. But I think there is a time in our lives where we realize that I'm so busy that I do need something like LittWorld. I'm in a rut. Um, I'm like a hamster on a little wheel going around and around in circles. I I'm just doing the same old because I'm too busy to even think creatively about what else God might be calling me to do. So if that's you, I would really encourage you to pray about it and think, do I need this time? Is it worth the sacrifice for my ministry, for my relationship with the Lord as a writer and publisher, to go to something like LittWorld? Um, we always get people who come to LittWorld who are on the verge of quitting. But it's hard. It's hard work, especially if you're working largely alone. You don't have people who encourage you. Maybe your local church doesn't really identify with what you're doing. They'd rather have you preaching or teaching a Sunday school class, which is important, but they don't really see, the ministry, the publishing is a strategic ministry, basically. So you're feeling kind of alone. Maybe you're ready to quit. And if that's you, again, I really ask you to pray and consider if LittWorld is for you. We received an email just yesterday, interestingly enough, from our longtime friend of MAI. Some of you attending this webinar will know his name, Babu Verghese from India. He's a longtime editor and publisher, writer. And here's what he said in his email from yesterday. 25 years ago, I decided to quit the literature ministry. But then it was at one of the LittWorld conferences that I made a covenant with the Lord that till my last breath, I will continue this mission. Thank the Lord, since then, he has allowed me to write and publish 27 books. Then he describes the book. He goes on to say, he's a unique man because he says he's been involved in leading more than 130 Christian writer workshops in India, if you can imagine. But somebody that passionate, even he, Babu, was on the verge of giving up. But at LittWorld, God really met with him and spoke to him. And he made a covenant with God that he was going to continue as long as God gave him breath. And we know of other cases like that, maybe not so dramatic, but I feel that if you're just sensing that you're too busy, too tired to go to LittWorld, maybe that's the reason why you should come to LittWorld. It could be a real game changer for your ministry and for your walk with the Lord. And then another one. There's another unspoken question that I've been thinking about. And maybe this one applies to some of us who live in the UK and America, in places where we feel that we already know a lot, quote unquote. The idea of I don't need it. I would really challenge myself, challenge all of us on that point, that I don't need it mentality, because two things. If we stopped learning, we've kind of lost the battle already. There's always more to learn, especially today. Imagine with AI and all these new developments in communications. There's so much that we still need to learn and need to continue to learn. So there's that. Then also, if you feel maybe I don't need it, well, then ask yourself, what can I give back? If God has gifted you and me so much that we've accumulated all these experiences and knowledge, what can we give back? What can I do at LittWorld just to encourage somebody who's getting started? What a joy that is to come alongside somebody in a conversation at LittWorld and just share, humbly from our own, what God has taught us through trial and error over the years. And just to encourage that other person, being good stewards of the experiences and knowledge God has given us. You can do that at LittWorld. There's plenty of opportunities to do that. I remember one of the LittWorlds in the UK years ago, Edward England was a plenary speaker. He was one of the most highly respected Christian publishers and editors in the UK at that time. And I remember that he got up and he took like the first 15 or 20 minutes of his talk telling about all the mistakes he made as a publisher, like turning down the Living Bible, not publishing it, things like that. It was so refreshing, to hear from this godly, experienced leader that he'd made mistakes too. And it was encouragement to all of us who knew all about making mistakes, and to know that, wow, even somebody like that um, has, he's had to make mistakes and get back up with God's help and continue forward. So, and there may be other issues or questions you may have about whether or not to attend LittWorld. Just again, I would encourage you to pray about that and think about it. If it's not for you this time around, okay, just remember that it will be another 3 years until the next LittWorld. So it could be your time. Jose Carlos, anything? Again, I'm kind of doing a monologue here. I want to bring you in where I can. So do you have any thoughts on what I've just shared?
Well, I can talk from my own experience. Attending to LittWorld has been a great experience, and one of the great things that we can get is connecting with other Christians from places that will be hard to reach if will be different if we reach them through social media or email. In my own experience, I started a partnership with a publishing ministry in Kenya in 2012, and we are still working together. And as Christian communicators, all of us who are in the Christian publishing landscape, we are doing this following God's orders of the Great Commission. We're doing the Great Commission by sharing the gospel, making disciples in many different ways with different genres, with starting with Bible translation and fiction and books for children and Bible studies, a lot of content, and we are serving others. So this is a great way to join forces with the body of Christ worldwide. Then in another world, in Asia, I met people from there that we've been in touch. I got inspired by people from the different countries, and I also got connected with people from Europe. And then we are preparing an event for teens and children in France. And these are the guidance that God gave us through the conference. So I would encourage you to pray. In my also in my experience, every time that I've been having the desire to go to the LittWorld, God has provided in many ways, with an extra job, with offerings, with the support of a scholarship, but in ways that I didn't expect it. So I encourage you to do the same, to pray if you want to come, and let God do the rest.
Okay, I'm just gonna share my screen to summarize a couple of things. And then while I'm doing that, while we're going through these last few things, please, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box or the Q&A box. We'll be trying to finish on time within an hour, in our hour. So I'm going to share my screen and see. Oops. Sorry about that. It's the wrong one. Let's get this up here. You know what? Let's dispense of the screen share. What I was going to say is just, in summary, from our surveys, we've done surveys we always do surveys after LittWorld to try to find out what were the greatest benefits of the conference. And so as we kind of filtered all those and sorted them out, it seemed like there were like 7 key benefits that emerged for our participants from previous LittWorlds. LittWorld was started in 1986, and it's been going for 30 plus years now. So 7 key benefits. The first was courage to pursue a new vision. That you came to LittWorld, and then all of a sudden you had this new idea. It's when you have about 200 Christian publishers and writers from 40 countries all gathered together, lots of ideas emerge. And so many of us have been working remotely. We haven't had the opportunity to really gather around with peers in writing and publishing. And when those kinds of spontaneous conversations happen, ideas emerge and fresh vision emerges. So we've seen that the courage, because it does take courage to start out in a new direction, to try something different. The courage to pursue a new vision. Second, a renewed sense of calling to Christian publishing. We often refer to Christian publishing today as an industry. I understand the word, and I understand where that's coming from, because publishing it's a business, and it's also a ministry. But I find that a lot of times people who come to LittWorld, who are so immersed in just the business side, as they're worshiping and together with other Christian writers and publishers, it just kind of, they're reminded of, we are reminded of why we're doing this in the first place. Why are we sacrificially investing this time and resources in Christian writing and publishing? It's not about just selling more books or, having a successful business. We have to survive financially, of course. But we're doing this because we want to serve the Lord and draw people to Him through what we're writing and publishing. So I think LittWorld is a good reality check for a lot of us. We're just reminded of why we're doing this, and drawing close to the Lord. Again, similar to what maybe when we started out, we're reminded of our first love, as it were. A third benefit would be fresh professional tools and skills. And we have a lot of how-to workshops, so you will have the opportunity to learn under the experts just real specific things about, like, how to draw the best out of a writer as an editor, or how to do a contextual, culturally relevant translation, or how to sell direct to a consumer. All these different topics that are out there. We're trying to choose workshops that will be the most helpful to you, most relevant to you. So you'll have a lot of choices, and you will gain some fresh skills and tools. I always feel if you can come away with even just one idea that you're going to implement, it's worth it. So I hope you'll even have more than one. Sharpened ministry focus would be a fourth. Maybe you're trying to do a little bit of everything in your writing and publishing. And at LittWorld, you identify, this is what I really need to focus in on now. This time in my life in ministry, this is the focus that I need to pursue. If we're not aiming at something, we won't reach it. So people often come away and come after a LittWorld, wow, now I see what I really need to hone in on in my writing and publishing. Another one would be ideas for expanding your markets. That could be, like, in many of us who are working in countries where the Christian population is very tiny, we suddenly realize, wow, what can I do to reach out to the larger general population? How can I communicate Christian truth in a relevant, meaningful way to someone who has absolutely no background in the gospel or in the Bible? What can I do to reach out to that market in a meaningful way? So you may come away with ideas for expanding your markets. And then another benefit, Jose Carlos has already referred to it, is a sense of belonging to a global publishing community. You're going to make some friends, some relationships, some networks that will potentially last your life. And it can be lonely to be a writer or a publisher, and it's a wonderful thing to feel part of a community that can stay connected. Amazingly, today, through all the technologies that we have, we can stay connected after a LittWorld, whereas before it wasn't so easy. And then finally, professional and spiritual encouragement is a benefit. I think that we've already referred to that, but it's equipping, but it's also encouragement. I think a lot of us need encouragement. My predecessor at MEI, Bob Reiki, he would often talk about Barnabas, and the son of encouragement, I think his name means, and how, Paul gave up some to a degree on John Mark and parted ways with Barnabas in their missionary journeys because he felt that John Mark wasn't ready yet. But, Barnabas stuck with him and took him off to Cyprus on a mission trip and continued to mentor him and encourage him. And if it hadn't not been for Barnabas, would we have the Gospel of Mark? I don't know. It's believed that John Mark helped Peter write his epistles. God had a place for John Mark, and Barnabas saw that, and he encouraged him. So I think many of us will come away from LittWorld in Pueblo with fresh encouragement, or we will be the encourager, the Barnabas in somebody's life. So again, just to say, go to LittWorld ready to be fed, ready to receive, but also ready to give, because you have important things from your experience to share with others. So those are the reasons. I can't think of any other ways to try to persuade you to come to LittWorld. But I hope you found something helpful today as you think it through, if you still haven't registered yet. If you have any questions, we're always, just a few clicks of your computer away by email at mai@littworld.org. You can write to me, write to us here in the office. I think a lot of you know Ramon. He's here with me too in the office. We're fielding questions that come in, and Bonnie as well. Some of you know her. So we're here to serve. We're here to answer your questions. Speaking of which, do we have any questions, Jose Carlos, that have not been?
Well, yes, we have one question. You mentioned something about scholarships. So the question is, it says, hello, when will we know results of scholarship applications? So can you add to that?
Yeah. Sorry, I just got started talking about that, but I didn't give any dates or anything. That we are working away at answering these little by little, but definitely by the end of July, definitely you will know for sure one way or the other. I mean, that'll still give you three months to make plans based on what you hear from us. But hopefully you'll hear from us well before the end of July. But that's our priority we have right now. So for sure you will hear a response from us, yes or no. So it's not that we won't answer you at all. If it just turns out that for whatever reason we can't help, we'll tell you. We won't leave you hanging. So you should be hearing that from us at least within the next 3 weeks. Thanks for your patience.
Yes, also, if you want to come, please check in advance the requirements of visa. If your country, if you require a visa to travel to Mexico, start doing the research. We can provide an invitation letter from a Mexico registered organization for you to come. Just try to do it with time, so you don't want to be running with paperwork and everything, because not all countries have Mexico embassies, so you might need to travel to the closest embassy to where you live, to another country.
One thing that we've learned that it has been helpful to a few people is if you already have a U.S. visa and your country requires a visa for Mexico, you don't need to, if you travel with that U.S. visa through the U.S., you don't need a Mexican visa. So similarly, if you're European, you have a Schengen visa, you don't need a visa for Mexico either. So we're here to help. Some of you will need invitation letters. Those of you who need visas, we have a template letter that we're using, sent by a Mexican host organization. So we're ready to help with anything you need related to applying for your visa for Mexico. And that's something you'd want to get started on pretty soon, I think.
Yes, we have another question, John. I'm gonna read it in Spanish and then in English. It says, hola, les escribí tiempo atrás para solicitar una beca, pero no obtuve respuesta. ¿Dónde puedo tramitarla? So it says, I wrote time ago to apply for scholarship, but I haven't had any answer. Where can I apply? So
yeah, again, we're still working on it. Estamos trabajando en eso. But we will hear from us soon. So again, thank you for your patience. There are a lot of requests, and we want to help as many people as we can. So you will be hearing from us. Okay. Well, I think that's all we have. Again, just a reminder, please visit our website, maiglobal.org, maiglobal.org. And there you will see the registration that you can register online there. You'll see the link for that. You'll see the frequently asked questions, and you'll see text both in Spanish and in English. The same text. I think we're up to date on all of our Spanish. The same text is available both in Spanish and English. And yeah, so we look forward to hearing from you. And again, any questions, please let us know. So, okay. Thank you. We're going to conclude. I'm just going to conclude with a prayer for all of us, both for God's guidance in the preparations for the conference and for each of you who are deciding whether or not to come join us in Puebla. Let's pray. Dear God, we thank you so much for this opportunity to discuss the LittWorld Conference. We thank you for all the work that's already been put into the preparations. I thank you for Jose Carlos and his team in Mexico. I thank you for all the people who have committed to serving as speakers and workshop leaders. Pray for us here in the office for wisdom and decisions related to scholarships and planning. Most of all, Lord, we pray that LittWorld 2024 will help advance the gospel through the published word around the world, that all that we do at the conference would be pleasing to you and glorify Christ. Thank you for the privilege of serving you through the ministry of the written word. We don't take it for granted, and we need your help. Apart from you, we can do nothing. So I pray for those who are still deciding about LittWorld, Lord. I pray that you would impress upon them what their decision should be, and help us to be of support through that decision-making process here at MAI. Pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Gracias todos. Gracias por estar con nosotros. Thanks for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you in Puebla. We eat some good mole poblano, tacos, I don't know what. And God bless you all. Jose Carlos, any last words from you?
Well, thank you for all that are here, and thank you if you're watching this recording. We would like to see you here in Mexico, and welcome to all of you, and bienvenidos a todos y todas.
Gracias, bye.